You know what keeps me up at night as a Bears fan? It's not the losses, it's not the close games, it's wondering when we're finally going to see that one player step up and grab this offense by the throat. Well, after Sunday's battle against Green Bay, I think we just witnessed something that's going to change everything we thought we knew about this team's offensive identity. Stay with me here because what I'm about to break down might just be the most important development for Chicago's playoff push, and honestly, most people aren't even talking about it yet. Welcome to Bears News Fan Report, your home for the latest updates, breaking news, and insider analysis on our beloved Chicago Bears. I'm bringing you everything you need to know about the moves, the strategies, and the players that are shaping our season. If you're serious about staying ahead of the curve on all things Bears, you're in the right place. Let's get into it. Sunday's showdown at Lambeau Field was everything we expected from a Bears-Packers clash. Blood, sweat, and every single inch of that frozen turf being fought over like it was the last piece of deep-dish pizza in Chicago. Ben Johnson got his first real taste of what this rivalry means. And while we came up short on the scoreboard, something happened in that game that has me more excited about our offensive future than I've been in months. We started slow, no question about it. The defense gave up some explosive plays early. We found ourselves in a hole, and it looked like it might be one of those games where we just couldn't get anything going. But then the second half happened, and that's when I saw something click. Now I want you to think about what makes a championship offense truly dangerous. Is it the big-name veterans, the high-priced free agents, or is it that young, hungry player who's got something to prove, someone who plays every single snap like it's their last chance to show the world they belong? Because that's exactly what we're starting to see develop right in front of our eyes, and it's happening at the perfect time. When Rome Odunze went down with that foot injury before the game, there was a question mark hovering over our receiving corps. We all know what DJ Moore brings when he's on. We've seen the highlights. We know the talent. But something's been missing from this offense. Something raw, something physical, something that makes defenses uncomfortable. That intangible factor that turns a good offense into a great one. This is where things get really interesting, and I need you to pay close attention, because the coaching staff is starting to make decisions that tell us everything about where this team is heading. In that Packers game, one player saw a season-high 50 offensive snaps. 50 snaps in the most hostile environment in football, against a division rival, in a game that meant everything for our playoff positioning. That's not an accident. That's a statement. That's Ben Johnson looking at his roster and deciding who he trusts when the lights are brightest and the stakes are highest. And the player who got that opportunity, he didn't just take advantage of it. He absolutely dominated his role in ways that are going to force this coaching staff to rethink how they're deploying their weapons moving forward. Here's what I find fascinating about modern offensive football. You can have all the scheme in the world. You can have the most creative play designs, the most sophisticated route concepts, but at the end of the day, you need players who are willing to fight for every single yard, like their life depends on it. You need guys who turn 5-yard catches into first downs, who bait defenders into costly penalties, who make something out of nothing when the play breaks down. That's the difference between an offense that looks good on paper and an offense that actually moves the chains when it matters most. And on Sunday, we saw that kind of player emerge in a big way for the Bears. Let me paint you a picture of what unfolded in that second half. While some of our established veterans were struggling to get separation, struggling to make an impact, there was one receiver who was absolutely relentless. Every single route was run with purpose, every catch was fought for, every yard after contact was earned through pure will and determination. This wasn't finesse football, this was old-school, smash-mouth, NFC North football at its finest. The kind of play style that wins games in December and January when the weather turns and the competition gets tougher. 4 receptions might not sound like a game-changing stat line until you realize that every single one of those catches moved the chains for a first down. 4 catches, 4 first downs, 67 yards, and an average of almost 17 yards per reception. That's not just production, that's efficiency at the highest level. But here's what really caught my attention. And this is where you can see the football IQ starting to develop in real time. There was a play where this receiver didn't even make the catch, but he still created massive value for the offense. He baited Packers cornerback Kysea Nixon into a critical penalty that gave us crucial yards in a moment when we desperately needed them. That's veteran-level awareness from a player who's still learning the NFL game. That's the kind of play that doesn't show up in the stat sheet but makes all the difference in winning football games. When you watch the film back, you can see defenders starting to respect this player's physicality, starting to play more cautiously, because they know every tackle is going to be a battle. Now let's talk about what this means for the bigger picture, because this is where things get really important for our playoff hopes. Ben Johnson is building an offensive identity, and part of that identity has to be physicality at the point of attack. We can't just be a finesse offense that lives and dies by the deep ball. We need players who can win in the trenches, who can convert third downs, who can move the chains when defenses know exactly what's coming. And what we're starting to see is a young player who brings exactly that element to our offense. Every touch is maximized, every opportunity is seized, and there's a competitive fire that's infectious for the entire unit. Here's the uncomfortable truth that we need to address as Bears fans. DJ Moore finished Sunday's game with -4 yards on 3 targets. -4 yards. Against a division rival, in a game we needed to win, one of our highest-paid offensive weapons was actually moving us backwards. Now, I'm not here to trash DJ Moore. We all know what he's capable of when he's locked in. But we also have to be honest about what we're seeing on the field and what gives this team the best chance to win football games. When you compare that production to a young receiver who's fighting for every yard, who's creating explosive plays, who's converting every catch into a first down, the decision about who needs more touches becomes pretty clear. This is the moment where championship teams make tough decisions. This is where coaching staffs have to look beyond the names on the back of jerseys and focus on who's actually producing when the game is on the line. And what Sunday showed us is that we have a weapon who's ready for a bigger role, who's earned more opportunities, and who brings a style of play that this offense desperately needs. Even when Rome Odunze comes back healthy, and we all hope that sooner rather than later, the snap distribution needs to reflect what we saw in Green Bay. You can't put that kind of performance back in a box and pretend it didn't happen. The Bears drafted this player in the second round of the 2025 NFL Draft, and from day one, you could tell something was different about his mentality. After sliding out of the first round, he made it clear that he was going to make every team that passed on him regret that decision. It took some time to work his way up the depth chart, to earn Ben Johnson's trust, to learn the nuances of this offense. But now that he's getting his opportunity, now that he's seeing significant snaps in meaningful games, we're starting to see why the front office was so excited about adding him to this roster. This isn't just a slot receiver who runs crossing routes. This is a complete weapon who can line up anywhere, who can create after the catch, who can be a security blanket on third down, and who plays with a physical edge that sets the tone for everyone around him. What Luther Burden III is bringing to the Chicago Bears offense is exactly what we've been missing. That's right, Luther Burden III is the player I've been building up to this entire time. And after Sunday's performance against the Packers, it's time we start talking about him as a foundational piece of this offense moving forward. This rookie wide receiver isn't just contributing, he's becoming essential to what Ben Johnson wants to accomplish. The dog mentality, the yards after contact, the smart football plays, the consistency on third down, all of it is adding up to a player who could be the X factor in our playoff push. Think about what this means for our offensive evolution. We've been searching for that complement to Rome Odunze, that player who can take pressure off our established weapons and create mismatches in the middle of the field. Luther Burden III is proving he can be that guy and so much more. The 50 snaps he played against Green Bay weren't just about filling in for an injured starter. They were about showing the coaching staff that he's ready to be a featured part of this offense regardless of who's healthy. When you average nearly 17 yards per reception and convert every single catch into a first down, you're not just a role player anymore, you're a legitimate weapon that defenses have to account for. The physical element he brings is something we haven't had consistently in this receiving corps. We've had speed, we've had route running, we've had size, but that combination of toughness, competitiveness, and yards after catch ability is rare. It's the kind of trait that makes an offense unpredictable, because defenses can't just rely on making the tackle at the catch point. They have to be prepared to finish plays, to wrap up, to bring extra effort on every single snap. And when you force defenses to play that way, it opens up everything else in the offense. Play action becomes more effective, deep shots become more available, and the entire unit starts to flow with more rhythm and confidence. Looking at the remaining schedule and thinking about our path to the playoffs, having Luther Burden III emerge as a reliable option is massive for this team. We're going to face tough defenses, hostile environments, and high-pressure situations where we need players who don't blink. Sunday at Lambeau Field proved that Burden is ready for those moments. He wanted all the smoke against the Packers, he rose to the occasion, and he showed everyone watching that he belongs on the field in the biggest games. That's the kind of player you build around. That's the kind of player who can change the trajectory of a franchise. Ben Johnson now has a decision to make about how he structures this offense going forward. Does he stick with the veteran who's struggling to produce, or does he ride the hot hand of a rookie who's proving he can deliver in crucial moments? My take is pretty simple. You feed the players who are hungry, who are producing, and who are bringing the energy that this team needs. Luther Burden III has earned more targets, more opportunities, and more trust from the coaching staff. When Rome Odunze returns, we should be looking at a 3-receiver rotation that features Burden prominently, not as an afterthought or a situational player, but as a core piece of what we're trying to accomplish offensively. The beauty of what Burden brings is that it's not just about the stats, it's about the impact he has on the entire offense. Drop your thoughts down below, because I read every single comment, and I love hearing different perspectives from our community. If you enjoyed this breakdown, and you want to stay updated on all the latest Bears news, rumors, and analysis, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss an upload. We're going to be covering every move this team makes as we push toward the playoffs, and I promise you'll get the most in-depth, honest analysis you'll find anywhere. Share this video with your fellow Bears fans who need to know about Luther Burden III's emergence, and let's keep building this community of passionate supporters who demand excellence from our team. Bear down, and I'll see you in the next one.